This video was requested by Gorgeous Geek. What's up, my gorgeous geeks? It's Cash in here with a brand new video, and today we are going to be reviewing Psycho-Pass. Let's get started.
We cannot resist that which is.
If you were wondering why this series seems so similar to Ghost in the Shell, that's because Production IG, the studio who brought us Psycho-Pass, had interest in creating a successor to Ghost in the Shell. There are actually a lot of live-action films that inspired Psycho-Pass, the closest one being Blade Runner. One of the themes that the creation team really wanted to explore with Psycho-Pass was this psychological theme using dystopian storylines. The plot starts off with a strand of short story arcs that give the show a bit of a NCIS detective-like theme to the story. As the plot progresses, things begin to snowball out of control in a flurry of chaos into one single storyline. One of the most beautiful things about the plot as you go through is that everything has a purpose. The overall story, everything just goes into that. And it's not just, well, here's a bunch of random stuff that happens. They all have a purpose in the overall story. And that also brings me to the fact that from beginning to end, everything actually has a pretty natural flow. If you watch the first episode and then you go all the way through to the final episode, everything is pieced together and all makes sense. Which brings me to my next point. The amazing thing about Psycho-Pass has to be the characters. The fact that they could take recycled characters that we see in so many different shows and then remaking them into unique personalities. There are a few secondary characters I wish we had more background on. They're just kind of there. I wish we got to know more about them instead of just writing them off. Overall, I kind of felt like the main character, Akane, was just pretty boring as the main character and found that most of the time she got overshadowed by the other characters until probably the very end, and that's when her character finally gets that progression that she should have gotten midway through. I loved this very gloomy and dark animation. Their use of gore was actually very interesting, mainly because it had very minimal flaws to it, but at the same time, it was used in a smart manner. It wasn't just, oh, here's a bunch of gore. It was very tactful how they would use certain gore in certain areas. The flaws that I did find were primarily during high-moving action scenes, and most of the time it was just attention to detail just wasn't as high of a priority, it seems. Other than that, everything looked gorgeous. Sound effects were actually quite well done, and I mostly loved the secondary effects. This is usually listening to the hum of a fan or listening to a guy drinking coffee. Those little small effects that you really wouldn't expect, but when you hear those small features, it helps draw you into the show's reality. Such subtle things as closing a car door or patting someone on the back, even footsteps, most of which actually sounded real. The OST was actually very well done, and one thing that I love the most is that they took one of the things I absolutely hate, one of my biggest pet peeves, which is when music overlaps on everything else and you just cannot hear anything else. They took that and they actually did something very unique where there's this one scene, and this is not going to be a spoiler, I'm not going to say much about it, but they take this one scene, just like everything is deaf, you could barely hear any of it, and you just have this music playing, right? And this music overlaps everything, and what you realize is, oh my god, you're actually inside the head of this one character. And to me, that was such a nice touch, because that's something unique that we don't see in other shows, and most shows that do that sort of thing, it comes off as just overlapping everything and it sounds like it's a terrible mix. Whereas this was done in a way where there are particular moments where they would do this and it's not just deafening for the entire scene, it's just a little bit at a time, and that was beautiful.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Now I'd like to take a break from this review, and I would like to shout out BB's World. Now this is someone who I've just recently got in contact with, and she makes amazing content. Usually you're typically going to find recommendations, otaku news, and discussionary videos, and her topics are just amazing. I love watching one of her videos because she really gets into the nitty-gritty of what's going on in the world of otakus, and her discussionary videos are actually very intelligent, which is something we really don't see that often. What I have to say, one of the most amazing things about her channel is that she will tailor specific videos for her audience. So let's say you're interested in her latest hentai figure that she just got, but you don't want to see her censor all the naughty parts. You want to see all of that. Despite what that'll do to her statistics, BB will actually create an entirely different video with the same content, just without the censorship. And to me, that speaks volumes. And she takes that extra step to make that extra video, even though it may hurt her stats. Most of her channel looks very professional. Very impressed to see that. The only critique I really have for her would be to fill out her her channel page a bit more by not lumping all of her playlists into one section. I would probably divide each type of video into one playlist and then have that as one section, and then just have different playlists for different things. Other than that, she's kind with a very warm personality, and it just kind of brightens up your day, and I definitely recommend you guys check her out. And even if you just watch one of her videos, just let her know that she's doing a great job. Give her a holler, tell her that Catherine sent you. Hit that like button, comment, and subscribe, guys. She definitely deserves it. For the final verdict of Psycho-Pass, I'm gonna have to give this a buy it score. The main reason why is because it's so clever. It's something that we get from beginning to end. It seems like none of this really matters. That at the end of the day, these beginning parts of the show really have nothing to do with the entire plot. And what's interesting is that they totally turn the tables around and they flip the entire story on its head for you. For some recommendations, of course, I have to put there, for the first one, Ghost in the Shell. Both shows have a cyberpunk dystopian society. Cyborgs and robots are heavily used in both shows, and they are also both creations of Production IG. The second recommendation is going to have to be Cowboy Bebop. Both these shows have a lead male duo rivalry to see who can catch the other person. Both have a noir atmosphere and have highly exciting chase scenes throughout the entire show. The third recommendation is going to have to be Thank No Terror. Both anime have very similar art styles, and both have a very heavy theme about morals and solving crime to catch the bad guys. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to check out BB. She definitely deserves your attention. And until next time, guys, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. As always, this has been Katrin. Stay excellent to each other.